probably read those books or heard of them, the Carlos Castaneda, Don Juan books, back in the 60s and 70s, and those are something that I read and really liked. In one of the books, Don Juan, when he's talking to Carlos, talks about the cubic centimeter of chance that appears before you. Unless you embrace it, it goes away, it disappears. So I kind of have seen the cubic centimeter of chance and just taken it, taking the opportunity, and I guess serendipity of not, a lot of things. When I talk to students, sometimes I talk to them about how we can be our own best friends or our own worst enemies, and a lot of times people stop themselves from doing things or from seeing things because they think, they kind of shut it down in themselves. And I guess I kind of like didn't let myself be stopped by things. So like when I started my photography career, I never saw myself as someone's assistant. I just said, okay, I'm just doing this now, and I just did it. It was kind of in the beginning though, like when I first started my, I said, okay, 1989, okay, I'm a photographer now. You're like, sometimes when you're starting something new, you're a little like wishy-washy about it. People say, what are you doing now? Well, I'm sort of trying to be a photographer. And I had my girlfriend, my Brazilian actress girlfriend, used to make me stand in front of the mirror every morning and go, I'm a photographer, and just kind of own it. I don't know. I mean, serendipity is just kind of like just being in the moment and believing and not letting yourself be stopped by things. So for instance, one thing, I've had the good fortune to work on a number of films also with Denzel Washington. And when the first film I worked on with Denzel was the film called Training Day. And I got called in by Warner Brothers because they thought the nature of Training Day was going to be filmed in a lot of really hardcore gang neighborhoods of Los Angeles, going to be out in the streets a lot. And they thought for some reason I had the right vibe to work on that film. They also, because of the nature of the filming and being in the streets, they normally on a movie set they tell a photographer, on a still photographer, only photograph the actors. Don't waste frames of film because everything's a line item. Don't waste frames of film on people who aren't the main actors. But on Training Day, they actually wanted me to photograph the homies and the people in the neighborhoods for community relations because of the nature of the filming. So I ended up creating this thing that was on the official Training Day website called Zuckerman's Journal, where I would photograph a lot of the homies and write little captions. I guess that was sort of the early Kindsight thing where I began doing that. And so I actually had some clout in the hood. I would walk down the street and go down these dark alleyways that, a lot of times a guy like me wouldn't go down, but I was kind of welcomed and safe there. But also began a good relationship with Denzel Washington, which again I call serendipity. For instance, one of the places we were filming in was a place called the Imperial Courts. It was a housing project in Watts, a very hardcore gang place. And when we were filming there, it was brought to my attention that there had been this recreation center that had been under construction, but because they ran out of funding and had been abandoned like 5 years earlier, and it was like half finished, and it became a place where, just a place for graffiti and kids going shooting up drugs or whatever. And it came to my attention, and I ended up calling the councilwoman for that district, Janice Hahn, whose brother was the mayor of Los Angeles at the time. And I brought it to her attention, and I called, and I kind of kept bugging her until finally she said, okay, we've secured the funds, we're going to complete the project. So now, 15 years later, I checked in on it. It's like this very thriving rec center with all these things going on. And, I never really claimed credit, but it was because of my efforts, so I call serendipity, that that place is now there.